If you're wondering what this is, stay tuned because we're about to talk all about it. On this show, we have David Lewis from SinuSonic. SinuSonic, a revolutionary new solution for nasal congestion relief, was invented in 2016 by David Lewis and Dr. Richard K. Bogan, longtime partners in health ventures related to sleep medicine. It all started after Dr. Bogan personally discovered the positive impact that humming provided to his own nasal congestion. SinuSonic's design is based on their extensive research of the therapeutic effects of positive expiratory pressure, PEP, and vibration on airway functionality and mucous movement in chronic lung conditions. After exhaustive research, product designs and testing, and initial trials, SinuSonic was born. We have David Lewis to talk to us about that. David Lewis, welcome to the show.
Welcome to Simply Walk the Talk. Our bodies and minds adapt to what we do most of the time. If you want to change your body and mind, you must change what it is you do most of the time. This podcast explores all things health, wellness, fitness, lifestyle, and biohacking. Stay tuned as we explore various thoughts, methods, and experiences from a multitude of conversations between our interesting guests and experts through many fields of work. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Simply walk the talk. Simply walk the talk.
So David Lewis, welcome to the show.
Josh, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed getting to know you as we've talked a little bit about the SinuSonic, and I know you've used the SinuSonic, and I look forward to sharing what it is, how it works, and who it might help. And again, I think it'll be fun to share some time with you. So I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. And thank you for your time. I know we've had some complications with getting this recorded, but I do think that this will allow us to have a more abbreviated version of exactly what this fun device is, which is the SinuSonic. And for those of you who have been in the space of like sleep apnea products or asthma products or things like that, you may have heard of a vibratory pulse activating expiratory pressure devices. There's a bunch of different terms out there, but this one is unique because this one doesn't connect to the mouth, it connects to the nose. And so David can kind of speak about the background of it, how it all got started, and then we can both riff on why we use it, how we use it, and who it works for.
Yeah. So I'll give a real abbreviated. So I was going to be a hospital administrator. I began working, though, with Dr. Richard Bogan, who is the inventor of the SinuSonic. He's a sleep doctor and a pulmonary doctor. He and I purchased his sleep lab from the local hospital here in Columbia, South Carolina, early 90s, and grew that to a really large company called SleepMed. We had about 1,000 employees. We ran sleep labs all over the country. I left in 2015. We sold off most of the business. I did some mission work and did some stuff and worked for another company in looking at EEG. And Dr. Bogan called and said, David, when I am in the shower, I hold my nose and create pressure, and I breathe out through my nose and I hum. So a little bit of a and when that happens, he said he normally would get sinus infections and get stuffy. And when he did that, that didn't happen. So he had filed a provisional patent, and provisional patent is something, they're easier to do. They're not very expensive. You have an idea, you can file one. But within 12 months, you have to do something about it. You got to either show you're going to pursue this or otherwise. And he called me with about 3 months left of that provisional patent and said, I really think there's something to this. So we began testing how do we create that pressure and that hum? And where that comes from, there's really those two things are the reasons why the SinuSonic works. But there are two things. You already mentioned the positive expiratory pressure device. This is one of them. There are lots of different sort of flavors. They've been around a long time in the lung world. So if you've had cystic fibrosis definitely, but other lung conditions, they give you one of these in the hospital oftentimes, and I hope you can hear that.
Yeah.
And what that's doing is you have hairs that line, down to your lungs, and they're moving, and that allows them to sort of work more like oars and allows you to get that mucus up and out. But that had never been used for the sinuses or the nose. So hold that thought, because we are going to use it with the SinuSonic. The other thing was humming. And humming is known, we didn't know it, I didn't know it at the time, but if you Google humming and sinuses or humming and breathing, it is an incredible amount of information about humming's ability to increase the body's production of nasal nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is good stuff. So nitric oxide is antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. It is a vasodilator, so it opens up blood, gets blood flow moving. Lots of good stuff. Viagra works by increasing the body's production of nitric oxide. So the SinuSonic, I don't know. We don't have any studies on that. I don't think that's
Not
what
yet.
it's there for. But so really this is it. And you press the button and it hums. You press it one simple time, it hums 128 hertz, which is a very pleasant and then you create the oscillating positive expiratory pressure by breathing in and out. Don't press it hard against your nose. If you've been doing it, so doing that actually doesn't help. You're not going underwater, so you don't need to worry about it being a perfect seal. Just comfortably put it on your nose, and then you breathe in and out at a sort of normal pace, but you want to use some pressure. So you're breathing. It's simple. And 2 minutes of a sinus exercise. And what's going to happen is you're going to put it down after first use, and you'll say, maybe that helped a little bit. And about 4 minutes or 5 minutes later, you're going to go, that is weird. I am, I'm opened up. So that's the device. Back to sort of the founding, we created, it was a lot of fun. I had been a service business. We ran sleep labs. So we had employees and we had stuff. And quite frankly, we got pretty big. So as CEO, I wasn't doing much fun stuff. It got to be a big company. So designing and developing the SinuSonic, meeting with the plastic folks and the silicone manufacturers and all the little piece parts that go into making the device was a lot of fun. But once we created the prototype device, we did a simple study in Dr. Bogan's sleep lab, and it blew us away how effective it was. All 15 patients, it was a small proof of concept study. Every one of the patients were like, where do I buy this? This is amazing. But then we created this, and I said, Dr. Bogan, it's time we get somebody to test this. And we said, where is the top ENTs are obviously the doctors, ear, nose, throat doctor, who you generally would go to. But inside of ENTs, there's a rhinologist who is a specialist in sinuses. And we were like, who is the top rhinologist? Is it at Duke or Chapel Hill or Emory, right? Where do we need to go? And we were lucky that in Charleston, South Carolina, about an hour and a half from me, the president of the American Rhinologic Society, it's big sounds pretty big, doesn't it? Was there. And I said, you know what? I got in my car and I drove down with my SinuSonic. I got an appointment with Dr. Rod Schlosser, and we got lucky. He is an incredible, brilliant man, nice man. And he said, David, I've done some research on acoustic vibration or humming's ability to stimulate cilia. So it also moves the hairs in your nose and the sinuses. He said, and so I get your science. It makes some sense. And we'll do a study on it, but we're not going to prove it works. We're going to prove it doesn't. We're an academic center. He said, we're going to make this a rigorous study, and we're going to show it is or isn't a placebo effect, right? We want to prove this thing works. And I said, absolutely, Dr. Schlosser. We don't want to sell a gimmick. It feels gimmicky, right? It's no drugs. Where is it? It's too natural. It can't really work, can it? Well, so they did the study at MUSC in Charleston, and Dr. Schlosser is now a medical advisor as well as the other rhinologist at MUSC. They weren't prior, but when they looked at all the data, they were really taken back that it didn't help people a little. It helped it like surgery and like decongestants did, without any of the negative side effects of those two things. The thing that I think really got their attention in the study, they used a device called a PNIF, peak nasal inspiratory flow. It is a tool that measures airflow. Right? It measures how much air you can breathe in and out through your nose. And after first use, the SinuSonic increased airflow 15%, which is a lot. But after twice a day, and this is why people need to use it daily, after 2 weeks of 2 times a day use, Dr. Schlosser said, David, I expected to see that 15% kind of continue, right? That opened you up. It increased to a 31% increase in airflow, which is stunning. And
Wow.
And they were sort of blown away with that result. We know it works. And so now we've sold over 50,000 of these units. So we've got a lot of folks using SinuSonics. You get what comes, it comes in a simple little box, get some instructions and some quick start, but you've seen it. It's pretty simple. Yeah, you open it up. You pull a little battery tab to start the device. The first time you start it, it takes a little harder, firmer push on that button. I don't know why, but it just does. So when you press that button the first time, but don't hold the button. So we get customer service on our stuff. It's like, where's my thumb out to try to hold it down? You do not need to hold the button down. So just one little, push of the button starts the device. And after 2 minutes, you'll get a like you've got coins from, winning at the end of the game. And again, that's the device. We have, well, you used it. Did you use it just for sleep, or no? You were using it for a number of things, and I can talk about some of those uses.
Yeah, so I typically use it twice a day. So I use it when I wake up in the morning, and then I use it before I go to bed. And for me, I like the gamification of various tools and devices that I use, because it's like this sort of internal challenge, and I don't like to miss a day. So if I'm taking supplements, or if I'm doing some kind of movement or whatever, even up into working on not social media, but like Duolingo, when I'm practicing Spanish or practicing languages, what enables me to go as long as I've gone doing it is because of the gamification component. So like you said with this, it's like you push the button, it comes on, it runs, that humming sensation runs itself for 2 minutes while you're doing your breathing. I personally, and you can tell me if this is correct or not correct or whatever, doesn't matter, but I like to also hum with this, right? And so I'm taking in the benefit of the breathing, clearing out the nasal passages like you just pointed out, but I also am practicing the natural humming. And with this against my nose, I feel that hum from this and from myself. So it's like everything is working in conjunction, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So, obviously, even since we invented this, the discussion around the importance of nasal breathing has just taken off, right? So that is really well known for performance enhancement, for gas exchange. So if we're getting, between 15 and 30% more airflow, what does that mean? That means more oxygen. And so if we're getting more oxygen into the lungs and we're increasing blood flow, you're now mixing oxygen with your blood. right? The other thing that we may talk a little bit about now, but we have a really unique, a study really started in this area, which is vagal nerve stimulation, which I don't want to get off entirely the congestion discussion, because I think that's the principal thing. And there are so many folks who are miserable with their congestion. But vagal nerve stimulation, this is a vagal nerve stimulator, right? Many of those are acoustic devices that you put on your ears. But it's a 2-minute calming event. I don't know if when you do yours, I love doing mine in the morning. It's really a yoga exercise. I mean, it like really is, right? Sure. So, really, I think most people, if you'll take a little less breathe in and more out, those are just yoga breathing techniques, and makes a lot of sense, and, feels good. We have a study being done at the University of North Carolina validating the feasibility of it as a vagal nerve stimulator, so I won't go too much into that. But we've validated the idea that it works for congestion. We've done 4 studies. The 5th study that's occurring right now at Mayo Clinic, being multi-site, funded by Mayo, we're not paying them to take a look at the device, is to use it for sinus pressure and pain. So people that get they're really migraines, right? They have sinus headaches, and they're debilitating. And there's not much you can do. You go to your ENT or neurologist, and they can do a sinus CT on you, but oftentimes you don't have a big infection, so it's not that. So we've done, MUSC in Charleston did a study looking at sinus pain and pressure, and it helped 78% of those folks. Mayo was so excited about it, they're redoing it, adding a sham device to make sure, which is appropriate with a larger trial like that. So we're right in the middle of recruiting for that trial, and we're excited about it. One of the biggest, go ahead.
No, I was just because I want to make sure that we don't miss out on a person that might be at the point where they're listening to this, they're watching this, and they're thinking, okay, all right, so I get my device. How exactly do I use it? When do I use it?
Yeah.
Is there a money back guarantee? Because I know when we talked before, we had talked about.
Let me the basics of the device. We can come back to some more science. Actually, one thing I want to make sure I hit, and then I'll come to the device. In the last 30 days, the FDA announced that phenylephrine is not effective. And we all say, what is that? That is the compound in almost every oral decongestant that's on the market. Sudafed, Tylenol, cough and cold, NyQuil, almost anything on the rows and rows of stuff that are at the Walgreens and CVS. FDA said they don't work. $1.4 billion of those products were sold last year, and the FDA just came out truly within the last 30 days and says they don't work. So there's a lot of folks that are wishing they worked, but they don't work. I think most people taking them probably knew they didn't work very well, right? So many people are using stuff that doesn't work very well. So let's hit the SinuSonic. It's $64.95. It lasts 6 months. It doesn't last forever like people want it to. I understand the concern about that. People want the batteries to be rechargeable or replaced by themselves. The problem with that is you're breathing warm, moist air in and out of the device. And 6 months is a long time for the electronics and the other stuff that goes into this, not discussing the cleanliness and the hygiene effect of that. It's not unlike your razor or your toothbrush. 6 months is a long time, and it's really time to get a new SinuSonic. At 6 months, you'll hear that noise, and you'll know it's time to get another SinuSonic. But so $64.95. I kind of showed you. It comes with a travel bag. I put mine. Mine sits in my driver's side or passenger seat next to my car as I leave the neighborhood. I'm getting my yoga exercise, and I'm not typically real stuffy, but even if you really do the full 2 minutes, you'll feel it. So it again, 2 minutes, obviously there are 20% of the adult population are chronically congested. They know who they are. They're listening to this show. They've tried steroids, they're using neti pots. They're trying everything. And I would suggest for $64.95, this is worth trying because it could really, even in addition to your Flonase. So we have ENTs who are suggesting folks use this about 30 seconds, then squirt your Flonase, then use this for the final minute and a half. Because guess what? If we're getting 30% more air back, we're also going to get 30% more, in my example, Flonase right back in. So the other types of patients, besides those chronic folks, are definitely sleep patients. So we have lots, and most of those chronic people like you use it twice a day. Most either right after their shower because they're sort of misty and have some moisture in the air, and they use their SinuSonic, and then about whenever they're brushing their teeth or whatever, right as they're going to bed. But sleep patients, many who lay down in bed, all the blood rushes to their head, and they're miserable, right? I can't breathe, and then I have insomnia because I can't go to sleep. So we have lots of folks that use it about 20 minutes before bedtime. They don't do it in the morning. They do it, to help them sleep. Other types of patients, interestingly, pregnant women is a big user of SinuSonics. So one of the top complaints for pregnant women is congestion. They're full of fluids, right? There's and inflammation is really the primary thing that the SinuSonic is helping work through. And so if you don't really want to take steroids or some of the other drugs, right? Especially if you're pregnant, more folks don't want to take those anyway. But certainly if you're pregnant, you don't. So the SinuSonic's pretty, is a unique thing to try. The exercise or performance use, something like 65% of folks who exercise get exercise-induced rhinitis, which is, so if you get off the treadmill, you're stuffy. Or skiing, right? So you get snow skiers who their noses are just dripping and running. So we have folks that use their SinuSonic either prior to, like I've heard the snow skiers, and there's quite a few of them, use it prior. But a lot of the exercise folks use it post. So, they're stuffy. We really haven't seen, we need to get some, linemen are coming off the field, take their helmet off. They're worn out. What do? A lot of them are, which is the exact wrong thing to do, right? That stimulates your fight or flight tendencies, and your brain is kicking off chemicals that aren't relaxing and, calming you down. You should probably take out your SinuSonic and calm down and let the nitric oxide and let the positive expiratory pressure, get some oxygen back there and help you breathe and clear up your congestion, which again is the principal thing that we're working on. So
I think there's a lot of information out there where people have heard what I'm going to say they've heard before, which is, and I really support this, it's the idea that the nose was built to sense smell and to breathe.
Yeah.
And so if you think about a baby, when a newborn baby is first born, they have this amazing ability of being able to breathe through their nose.
Yep.
Because the mouth is actually designed to communicate and to eat, to consume, food and drinks and things like that. Yep. So if we were born without the ability to breathe through our nose, it'd be very difficult to breastfeed. Right? It'd be very difficult.
Yeah. So, babies can't really breathe through their mouth. That's right.
Right. So this is almost like going back to the sort of movement milestones. And that's kind of the similar thing I'd like to do with movement. Right. So like even with my clients, I get them crawling on the ground and rolling around like they're babies, but I also get them breathing through their nose again, like we were designed to.
Absolutely. Again, even if you're not congested, although millions of people are congested, using this twice a day is a training, as you're describing, right? It's learning to when you get stressed or when you get congested or when you need to calm down a little, use your SinuSonic. But again, there's a obviously lots of congested folks. We've got folks that, they mow their grass, and so Saturday afternoons, they're miserable. Rest of the week, they're fine. We've got, people using their SinuSonics. We've got people using their SinuSonics, say for morning hangovers, little red wine stuffiness. We haven't done the study on that, but it's similar, right? I don't think it's going to help your lack of sleep or your poor eating, but the stuffiness is certainly one of the complaints around that.
So here's a thing that I think could be helpful as well. So like I've mentioned before, like we know, because I've talked to you a few times, so I know there's a plethora of testimonials and there's a plethora of anecdotal science. Not to say that that's not useful, because it's very useful. I think we can direct people to the website, and we can direct them straight to you or to me if they want to talk about that. We've talked about how much it is and how to use it and things like that. I just want to make sure before we wrap up, I want to make sure that people understand that this is basically good for anything that nitric oxide or that better circulation can improve on. And then, like you said, $64.95. I mean, how much are people spending on these over-the-counter medicines throughout their lifetime, right? And so this might be the one tool to at least get you started. And I think if nothing else, because I know we talked about this before, if nothing else, use it for 21 days. Use it for 3 weeks, right? Use it for 4 weeks, because you're going to have this available for 6 months. And I believe you guys have a money-back return.
Yeah, so we have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Tough to do it on Amazon. We don't control Amazon, right? So if you buy something through Amazon, it's their rules and regulation. But if you buy it through a website, we absolutely will give you a full guarantee and return. We can actually help you on Amazon, but you'll have to email us your order number, and we can help you through that. I think one of the things I'd say, the negative, if you read our reviews on Amazon, they're sort of classic, right? It is exactly what the SinuSonic scares people. It's a gimmick made in China, and it's not, by the way. They saw it on Facebook and they are so miserable they bought one. But here's the problem with that. They bought it, they get it from Amazon, they turn it on. We get back from Amazon the returns that come back, because they do return quite, some of them. We don't have a ton of returns, but we get some of those back, and we can download the usage data. We're not tracking you. We don't have anything other than that, but we know how many times it turned on and off, and in the 6 month period. And 83% of them had been used less than one full 2-minute session. So people get them, Josh, this is stupid. Why did I buy this? And I would just say, don't say that, right? Use it for the 21 days. Do it for the 2 minutes. It's like taking your medicine. If you don't take your medicine, it's not going to help you. So just saying it's dumb and it didn't work is not helpful. The studies, one of the top rhinologists at UNC, at UCLA, and this is not a gimmick. There's really science behind the nitric oxide production and the oscillating positive expiratory pressure. It just so happens, though, just to be wrapped up in a nicely all natural product, right? That helps people. So I appreciate. I know you need to go. You're a world traveler right now, and maybe when you come back, we could talk a little more about some of the other sort of uses. Using it on an airplane as you're beginning to descend especially coming from South America, when you're coming back and they're descending. Use your the beep comes to descend. Take out your SinuSonic and use it. But we also have divers, so free divers, right, who come up from being underwater and get just massive headaches using the SinuSonic for those purposes. So
it's a great tool to equalize. It's a great tool for circulation, as we discussed. It's a great tool to relieve pressure, whether it be migraines or congestion. And then at the end of the day, it's another great breathing tool. So the fact that you have this device that's laying around, that I always keep nearby, if nothing else, use it as your support for breath work.
Yeah.
So
The mask has a little mint smell. Not very much, and it kind of goes away. One of the good ideas you had is, potentially looking in the future at some additional, essential oils and things that could go on the mask. I think you've even done some of that with your SinuSonic.
I have.
So we'd love some feedback from folks who've tried some of that stuff. It makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. So speaking to that, I think this is a good time to wrap up. And I think for anyone that has questions or concerns about if it works, if it doesn't work, take David's advice, take my advice, just try it. I mean, what's the worst you can lose is maybe a few days of
but
trying
really
it.
Try it. But
really try it. Try it for the 21 days, for 30 days, whatever. If it doesn't work for you, then, these guys have a money back guarantee, which I think is incredible. So they stand behind their product. David, I know this is a little shorter than we had anticipated, but I would love to absolutely have you back on. We'll make sure that everything is working properly. And maybe by then we'll have a lot more feedback. Maybe we'll have some questions or some concerns, or maybe we have some more testimonials,
Yeah.
So
hopefully some of the folks you're training and are working with you can also give you some testimonials as they're using it. So that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, but I'll just finish by saying this, 100%, Roger Waters uses this. And I think he always has it beside him. He has his red light device, the Move Plus by Kineon, red light device by him, and he has his SinuSonic by him. And it's just like, whenever you think about it, you can do it more than twice a day, right? You can do it several times a day. And that's what he does sometimes. And so being that he's a singer, he's a musician, it helps him to stay creative. It helps him with his voice, his nasal passages. He used to have a lot of lung issues and chest issues, but this has helped him a lot. So there you go. All right.
Awesome. www.sinusonic.com. It's pretty simple. So thank you.
Exactly. Absolutely. And this is Josh signing off from Simply Walk the Talk. Peace.
Simply walk the talk. Walk the talk, talking facts. Move like me, but I move a little fast. Make my move, here to last. Fasten these seatbelts, I'm coming past. Take care of me, longevity. Hack my biology, better believe. Walking the talk, soul, mind, and body connected. Better come give us a listen.